All right, well, I'm going to get the net started. Well, good evening. This is Wilson, November 6th Echo Mike Foxtrot, your net control operator for the River City ARC Slow Scan TV net. This net serves for training and practice in image transmission modes and meets Wednesday nights at 9 p.m. on the N6NA repeater on 441.30 megahertz. River City ARC's members and all licensed radio amateurs are welcome to participate. If you wish to join the net or need to make a call at any time, please announce your call sign between transmissions and net control will acknowledge you. If an emergency should arise and you need the repeater, please contact the net control by saying break break. A double break signifies emergency traffic. The net will stand by for you until the emergency is terminated or the traffic is moved to another frequency. Stations who wish to check into the net are asked to respond with their full call sign using the recognized ITU phonetic alphabet and their name. I will recognize each station before continuing. Any station who wishes to check into the net, please come now.
Kilo 3 Romeo Echo Hotel.
All right, Neil, I got you. KL7HQR, good evening. Thank you for checking into the net, but I missed one with a double on you.
Kilo 3 Romeo Echo Hotel. This is Anders.
All right, well, good evening, Anders. K3REH, N6NA here. Thanks for joining the net as well. Any other check-ins?
Good evening, Alpha India 6 Delta Golf, Florence.
All right. 6 Delta Golf in Florin. That is Joel. Good evening, Joel. Thanks for joining the net. Anyone else?
Yeah, Kilo Papa 4 Mike Delta Carol, set your sights.
All right, Carol. Thank you for checking in, KP4MD. Appreciate everybody on board so far. Any other check-ins for the N6NA or the River City ARC Slow Scan TV net tonight? All right, it looks like we have a full cast. N6NA, or rather N6EMF, rather, is going to be your net control for tonight. And just my condolences going out there to the friends and family of our silent key that I heard about in the previous 10-meter net, and that was N6NA FM. I don't believe I have worked him or know him personally, but my thoughts and prayers go out to the friends and family and fellow hams that knew that ham. So there you go. Also want to express appreciation to all the folks out there who are viewing us on the YouTube channel. Hello out there. If Carol can announce who they are, I'll note them and give them a shout out a little bit later. So Neil, if you're ready, I will call for you to send the first photo of KL7HQR. If you're ready, go ahead and transmit.
Roger, KL7HQR. By the way, it's nice to be back home, from being monitoring from far away last time. This is going to be PD120.
by the way, welcome back, Neil. KL7HQR has returned safely from his cruise vacation, if I'm remembering accurately. So, yeah, welcome back to the cast, and thank you very much, Neil, for checking in again. I'm sure we'll hear from you. And I did receive your photo. It came through nice. I was able to copy. I've got. I'm going to basically turn it over to other operators so they can describe the photo this time. But so let's see. I'll bring up Anders K3REH. Were you able to copy?
I had an excellent copy, and I'm looking at a picture of some mountainous village, I guess, with a river flowing right through it, very slanted roofs, which would indicate that maybe there is snow here on other seasons. There's an American flag on one of them, but I kind of get the feeling that this is not in the U.S. There's a black flag or a black something, a few pillars behind that American flag also. So, yeah, very curious to know where this is. There it looks like a pretty nice little river village. So, yeah, looking forward to know where it is. K3REH, back to net.
All right, well, thank you for that, Anders. K3RH gives a good report. Nice work. Let's turn it over to AI6DG. Joel, were you able to copy this photo from Neil?
Well, I've got some pretty severe local interference, I think. I mean, but it didn't seem to affect the image quality. So I've got a pretty good reception, a couple of bars where whatever my interference went, but then the usual pause pops. So we're looking at a river that's surrounded on both sides with buildings. It does look like a mountain slope in the background that's going all the way down to the river, and we're on a bridge that's crossing the river. It's kind of it's not straight across, I don't think. It looks like it's at an angle. On the left, so we've all these buildings are right on the river, and they have pilings either up to river's edge or actually sticking out a little bit into the river. The one on the left has a balcony actually out over the river, the American flag, and some other flag. The flag's going off the railing, and behind that, about 20 feet away, is another flag. It's a covered balcony. On the right, we see just the extreme end of a building, and it looks like there's stairs at the end of the building, and a very similar construction building a little bit further downstream with balconies and rooms on the riverside, and again the stairs on the end. They're not at the riverside; they're sideways. Could be that those two are kind of the same place, maybe a hotel or a hostel. I noticed the pillars or beams that go down into the river have a lot of cross wood beams, kind of protection. So I'm thinking that they get floods here frequently, and that they're there to protect the beams. It does look like a location of severe weather. I'm thinking New England maybe, because it does kind of have a mountainy look, but from the types of trees in the background, it's not high mountains like you would have in the mountains here. It just to me has kind of a European look, but my guess is New England back east. But does look like a nice place for a vacation. Back to net, AI6.
All right, nice one, Joel. Thank you very much. How about Carol, K4MD? I don't have my YouTube up, but I need to check in with you and see where you were able to copy. Have any comments or questions?
Yeah, this is KP4MD. I'm not going to repeat everything that everyone said there, but it's obvious this is a it's an interesting picture looking down some kind of a small river with houses or buildings overhanging over the river and an American flag. So I definitely don't think this was a picture taken on a cruise up the Rhine River. But interesting. Wondering if this is one of those rivers in Alaska. This is what I'm going to guess because it kind of looks like that kind of territory. Also a shout out there to Alf, Kilo November 6, Papa Romeo Delta, and who says hi there on YouTube chat. And yep, Neil just said welcome back, Alf. I just wanted to also say that I don't think we're going to see Craig WP2N. I haven't heard from him since our last net, and I'm wondering if he even has electricity, because he's down there in Louisiana, just around the area of Baton Rouge, and a little bit further west from New Orleans, and I'm sure they probably had a lot of rain and probably some wind damage. I'm hoping that they are safe, he and his family, being down there, not very far from the path of Hurricane Ida. So I'm just going to send my regards out to him and sending him an email. Hopefully he's able to receive that. So that's it, and back to you, Wilson. It's KP4MD.
Yes, thank you, Carol, for that. KP4MD. That was a good shout out for the viewers. And good evening, Al. Thanks for checking in again. And let's just hope that T2N is making his way safely through all the varying conditions down there. And we look forward to having him back online here in quite shortly. Let's just hope he's back online shortly. So we'll add him to my thoughts and prayers, and have him keep going for us. Thank you, Carol. Yeah, so let me turn it back to Neil, KL7HQR. Neil, would you like to discuss your photo at this time?
Roger, KL7HQR. Well, everybody was pretty good descriptions, and Carol was right. This is Alaska. I just spent 1 week going through a cruise there. We made 4 stops out of Seattle. We stopped in Juneau, then we stopped in Skagway, and then farther south a little bit, Ketchikan. This is Ketchikan, Alaska. Actually, this is the old buildings of downtown Ketchikan, and just about a block, a small block or two to the right of the picture is the real downtown. And this is this little creek, little river. I don't have a name, but it is a creek that goes through. And as Joe mentioned, it has some high tides that go up and down. And you have walkways, wooden walkways that you can walk all the way through here, through behind the American flag, and to the left, and all the way around both sides on the right and the left, and walk all the way down until the end where you kind of join the main downtown again. And there is a lot of more platforms to walk behind me as I took this picture. This was on low tide, and there was a lot. This is at the end of the pink salmon run, and there were a lot of salmons coming up, and unfortunately a lot of them have already done their job and passed on, but a lot of activity. And I just thought it was a very nice, picturesque picture. By the way, the flag, the black flag passed the American flag. It was a flag of a local organization, a local fraternity there. And I forget, I have notes on what it was. I don't have it here with me. But that's what it is. It was a nice, warm day, about in the 50s and 60s, a little bit of drizzle, but very, very comfortable. Really enjoyed it. And by the way, Carol, everybody mentioned, I noticed that when I was on listening to YouTube, your audio is 100% better than anybody else. It's really good. It was great to be able to participate from the ship, and we'll do that again next time. Back to that.
All right, very good wrap-up on the photo there, Neil. Thank you. Out of curiosity, so you took this this photograph from like a deck from a building similar to the one that you photographed? And that another question is that's not navigable, right? I mean, that's. Do you see any kayakers or rafters in there?
No, it's not navigable. As a matter of fact, there's just a few inches of water in there, and the water is coming towards the camera. Yes, as you can see, the little handrail on the left side is just a continuous platform that goes around the buildings. And I have other pictures that I will, if we have a chance next week, I'll put it up. But yeah, just a long walk that you can walk all the way through and around the old town buildings. So back to that.
All right, Neil. Well, thanks for sharing. I was looking at a fire map of North America, and I saw fires everywhere. And I was wondering if there's any reports of fire up there. It's highly doubtable, but did you hear about or witness any fire activity or smoke or anything like that?
No, most of the fires that we heard about, and we actually saw a lot of smoke, was taken off from here and between here and over Oregon and Washington. So our flight to Seattle, but up there, no. As a matter of fact, I saw something that I actually brought some in a glass. I think they call it rain, that I haven't seen in a long time. So it was great.
Rain, $1 million an ounce. Keep going. Nice work, Neil, and I'm glad sounds like you enjoyed a wonderful vacation with you and your wife, and I'm glad you made it back home safe. Glad to have you back in the cast here. Any other points, questions for Neil? Well, all right. Let me tell you, I'm going to be the next one to transmit if there are no objections. I searched all week for a photograph, and it was not successful. But I do have something to share, and I'm going to send it PD50 for what it's worth. Let's see. Oh, that's not going to work right. I'm going to go. Oh, no way. I'm really sorry. I will. I'm going to have to move this on to Anders. Anders, would you please get ready to transmit a photo, because I have goofed up something in my SSTV application, and I'll get back to it after you.
K3REH. This will be PD120.
K3REH. Anders successfully transmitted a nice photograph I was able to copy, and I do see just a little bit of a band of noise across, a thin stripe of noise across the bottom third of the photograph. I see what appears to be a river city in the background, river cityscape in the background with some skyrise buildings, skyscraper type buildings, and in the foreground I can't tell what it is, but I don't know which city this is, but there's an inset photo that appears to be a control panel, possibly, or a display panel, and possibly indicating like an elevator controls, or for 91, 92, 93 stories. Hard to believe, but that's my estimate. I can see something very interesting here. So let me turn it over to Neil, KL7HQR. Were you able to copy?
Roger, KL7HQR. Very good copy here. A few PayPal's hits and artifacts in the picture, but overall good copy. I don't know what this is, but that the second building from the left, which we see in silhouette, that seems to have an opening on the very top. I remember seeing a building similar to that in Shanghai, but I don't see enough of the other buildings to know if that's the case. I'm quite sure there may be similar buildings in many other places. I don't think it's New York, although there is a nice river going by from the left side of the lower part. The inset seems to be some kind of electronic control device, and knowing Anders is probably well, I see a number 1, 2, 3, what seems to be an alarm, could be an elevator. But knowing Anders has something to do with electronics, since he is so fantastically involved into that. So anyway, that's my copy. Let me see here. Yep, let's see if I know it's Shanghai. Back to net.
All right, very good, Neil. Thank you for that. Yeah, I'll say that you and I are thinking similar, and I'll turn it over to. I'm going to skip one. Let's go to Carol, KP4MD. Carol, if you can let us know what you think of the photo, sure would be appreciated. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, this is KP4MD. Yeah, nice picture, silhouette of skyline alongside a river there. I see some what looks like ships pulled along the right side there. Looks like along some kind of a pier or docking area. A number of ships or boats going up and down the river. And yeah, I'm imagining that that inset there is showing the floor numbers on maybe inside the skyscraper. Looks like a pretty tall skyscraper there in the foreground. So back to net control, it's KP4MD.
All right, Carol adds a little bit of dimension there. So thank you for that, Carol, KP4MD. How about Joel, AI6DG?
So we're looking at a river scene. We've got a river kind of going diagonally through the picture. It's sunset, so we've got the sun setting in the background with a bit of a reflection on the river. A waterfront type of scene in the near ground on the lower right, on this side of the river and the far side of the river. It's a cityscape with a whole bunch of tall buildings, but in particular, 3 extremely tall ones. Tall, medium tall with the handle, and extremely tall all the way to the top of the picture. On the leftmost, going from right to left on the leftmost portion. The insert looks to me like it's probably a modern control panel for an elevator. It was saying 91, 2, and 3. But, you know, now that I think about it, I haven't been in a really modern, really tall building elevator before, so I don't even know what they look like. I don't imagine they're what I remember with the brass panel and the big plastic lid, behind lid buttons. I mean, things have changed in the last 30 years or something. So I was thinking Singapore, but Shanghai sounds good too, but it does kind of have a look of China of some kind. Back to net AI6DG.
Yes, I'm hanging in suspense now. Yeah, thank you, Joel. That was AI6DG, and I think we get to turn it back over to Anders for narrative. Tell us what you know about this photo you sent.
So you got it. It is Shanghai, and this was a few years ago. I visited Shanghai in a business trip, and we're looking from one side of the river to the other. This area that the photo is taken from is called the Bund, and it's basically a long, going along the whole river there. And this is taken from the hotel room where I stayed, basically. And what you see there is two silly tall buildings to the left. The one that looks like a bottle opener is about 100 stories high, and up at the top of that, over the opening, is a restaurant, where a restaurant and bar area, and that's what the inset is all about. Those three buttons there is how you get to those stories just above the opening in the bottle opener building. So that building is about 100 stories tall. So you can imagine what the thing right next to it is. It is absolutely silly tall, looking at it. Those little things right next to it that are just to the right of the really tall building, they're still 50-ish stories tall. So they are skyscrapers, and they look like Lego pieces here. So yeah, this was one of those jaw-dropping moments, seeing this in real, and very, absolutely fantastic city. Very lively and interesting, definitely. A fantastic experience to have visited. Kate, back to net.
All right, Andrew, that was a wonderful description, and thanks for validating Shanghai. So the elevator controls, are they like a touch screen, and you scroll? You press a button to get to this group of floors? How does that? Do you remember how that works?
No, they're fixed buttons. They're just plastic pieces. It's a plexiglass thing across it, and you push the numbers there on the left, and basically that's all the options you had. You couldn't go anywhere else in this particular elevator. It was 91, 92, 93, or the ground level. That's all the choices you have. So I think the second button from the bottom there was to close the doors faster. That's pretty much it. So no, it's not a touch screen. It's just plexiglass. K3RH, back to net.
All right, thank you. I wonder if you had a special key or password or handshake. Would it let you get to the 33rd floor, or is there just plumbing there?
We had a great guide, and he, I don't know how he got us into this elevator, because you certainly had to have some kind of special access, but he had the inside knowledge and spoke the language, so everything was much easier with him around. Back to net.
All right, very good. Any other questions or points for the photos?
Yeah, KL7HQR, just a comment. If I understand correctly, that was called the Shanghai Tower, and it was one of the tallest buildings of the world, or the tallest building in the world for a while, and obviously has been taken over by many others, not only in Shanghai. And I agree with Andrew. Shanghai turned out to be an incredible city to see the architecture. Many interesting buildings, but the few times that I've been there, the pollution in the air was such that sometimes you could not really appreciate the building. But great people enjoy that and enjoy the food too. Back to that.
All right, very good. Yeah, thanks for that, Neil. The Shanghai Tower, and you think about places like Dubai and other places, maybe even in China, easily top those numbers of floors these days. Any other points or questions, comments? right, I'm going to turn one here. I'm going to transmit a photo. I think it should work now. PD50. Should be a very quick transmission, and you'll see why. N6 EMF. All right, I have a special request. Don't take this one too seriously. N6 EMF. I'll turn it over to Neil, KL7HQR. Were you able to copy?
Yeah, very good copy, no problem at all. Of course, with a white background, the artifacts are a little bit more visible, but it looks like a piece of ham with cut, and what appears to be a speaker grill on the bottom, and on-off button or some kind of control on the left, and either a channel or a frequency selector. So it looks like a ham collar-shaped radio. That would be my interpretation.
Very good, thank you. All right, how about the Anders K3REH?
Well, I really hope this is what you are using right now for the SSTV Net. But it's clearly an interesting piece of technology. I think the meaty part here is probably really good at shielding the rest of the electronics from RF or RFI. So it must be a really great way of encapsulating electronics. I would be a little bit concerned about when this was baked, if it was before or after you put the electronics in, but interesting to hear that story. K3REH, back to net.
Nice one. All right, Joel, AI6DG.
Well, it's obviously a ham radio. I mean, we've got a ham with two knobs on the front and a speaker grill on the front, and a little rubber ducky antenna sticking out the back, or at least I'm assuming that's what that bar in the back is. I think we've had some good comments. Yeah, but what I want to know is, how do you keep it from spoiling, and do you eat it afterwards for lunch?
Very good question. Ties back to Anders, K3RH's question on whether it was baked before or after the electronics. And so, yeah, thanks for that, Joel. Carol, KP4MD.
Okay, yeah, this is KP4MD. This is, yep, I agree. It's a ham radio. And, you know, I don't think we get many of these from Japan or China. We used to get quite a few of these imported from Europe. I remember a number of years back. But I think a lot of them are now domestically produced. I think there's a factory over in Virginia. Anyway, but it came over pretty well. I have a few lines here, but I am getting still some multi-path fading, and you would probably see there on my YouTube feed. I do have a few horizontal lines, but otherwise pretty good. It's a little lower definition, and because I think you used a different, gee whiz. Yeah, that was not a PD 120. It was a different mode, but came through okay. KP4 Mike Delta.
Thank you for for that, Carol. Well, yeah, it was PD50. That's a faster, lower resolution mode. And the way I arrived at this was I didn't have a picture this week. Things just didn't get any photos, didn't find anything that I was really interested in sending. So I thought it would be nice to find a quote or a cute ham radio-related quote or cartoon. And I found this item here, and it was the full scale, the aspect ratio is mostly tall and didn't translate right for SSTV. So 6EMF here, I had to crop the photo to make it fit properly. And this is a ham radio, yes, and it's a telescoping antenna that you can't see the full length because of having to crop the photo to fit. And it was baked before 1950, before the vintage of the radio electronics, so it's definitely not safe to eat. It was painted and dyed to retain its color and its luster, but it's certainly not safe to eat. I hope that answers your question. But you know, this is supposed to be an opportunity to practice image transmission, and that's kind of what I'm tinkering with here. I have difficulties finding photos with the right aspect ratio sometimes, and it's interesting to see what happens when you try to convert text to a photograph, or you know. So just kind of playing around with SSTV and not having anything of personal interest to share this week. So thanks for entertaining the ham radio, and I hope I answered all your questions. All right, well, AI6DG, Joel, would you like to transmit?
Okay, can we confirm I have tone?
Joel, you've got tone.
PD 120.
N6EMF here. I picked up Joel AI6DG has successfully transmitted an image, and I can see AI6DG in white lettering off to the right, where the G is slightly clipped off to the right side of the G, and I don't recognize the ham radio operator, who appears to be set up at sort of a picnic bench. and I can't tell whether that's Joel or not, but looks like there's someone there operating a field day type station setup. I see a tree in the middle that shed its leaves, and I see antennas to the right and left that grew leaves. Got that backwards. Like a dipole that's set up there. So maybe a lake in the background and clear blue sky. So anyway, interested in hearing more about this one. I'll turn it over. I'll do a random check. I'll turn it over to K3REH. Anders, would you like to comment on the photo? Did you receive?
This looks like a day at the lake. Actually, I'm comparing it to what I got on what I got compared to what's on YouTube, and my copy is much better, much better. Really, the only artifact I have is that repeater ID at about the AI60G logo. This looks like a field day type setup, like you said, and a nice tall antenna there, like a horizontal dipole kind of setup, maybe. I don't know. And I'm gonna take a wild guess and say that this is our late friend N6NA FM sitting there operating or about to operate. K3REH, back to net.
All right, thank you for that, Anders. K3REH, good report. How about Carol, KP4MD?
Yeah, this is KP4MD. I'm going to guess, I'm going to say, yeah, it kind of resembles Doug. N6NA FM, I could see the dark glasses on this gentleman sitting there at the table. And looks like there's an antenna on top of a mast. Looks like maybe it's a buddy pole. It's looks like a little horizontal dipole up there. That's what I'm guessing at the top of this tall mast, which is maybe, I don't know, about 20 feet high. And looks like a lake. I'm going to guess it's Folsom Lake. I might be completely wrong. But it definitely was a lot more full of water than it is now, if it is Folsom Lake. So yeah, I have a lot of I had a lot of multipath fading on that signal and a lot of dropouts. That's why you see a lot of the horizontal lines on the picture on YouTube. And if you're listening to the audio on YouTube, you'll also hear when the repeater is dropping out because of the multipath. So yeah, a signal just fades completely down to zero and then bounces back up again at times. So back to net control. This is KP4MD.
All right, well, thank you for that update, Carl. I had not given much thought to multipath, and I wonder what might be causing that. Is that maybe cloud cover or something going on in the one of the layers, or aircraft, vehicles? What do you think?
Okay, yeah, what I'm thinking is there's a tree very close to my antenna. It's just like about 10 feet away. There's a number of branches that it's a pine tree. It's got a lot of vertical branches that are growing upwards, new shoots. And as it moves in the wind, breeze blows it, moves those things, and you're getting reflections that vary with the breeze moving it. So it's going to cause signal reinforcing and cancellation, and that's I believe that's what's happening. I discussed this with N6ICW. He thinks this is also the issue. Over.
I guess I didn't think that could be that much of a problem, but at the 70 centimeter wavelength, I can now understand that might be very interesting. Thanks for sharing that piece of technical sort of prognostic information, if you will. So thanks. Let me get back to Neil, KL7HQR. Were you two able to copy the photo from Joel?
Yeah, scale 7 HQR. Yeah, just like Anders, my picture is much better than what Carol got. Very, very, very clear, and with a little bit of interference right on the top part of the A, there, a little horizontal bar, and not recognizing the person. That definitely is a field day operation with a horizontal dipole as discussed. I would not have guessed Folsom Lake, since I have never been to the edge of Folsom Lake, but. Obviously, like Carol says, if it is Folsom Lake, it was not this year, definitely for sure. At scale 7 HQR.
Yeah. Thanks for bringing that to the forefront. With the air quality and the lake level, certainly not recent. So let's turn it over to Joel, AI6DG. Do you want to narrate for us? Thank you.
So yes, this was field day, and I think this was 5 years ago. So North Hills had not been doing field day for a number of years, and somehow, I don't remember exactly how, I got talked into being field day coordinator. And this is the first year we started field day up again. And it wasn't a huge turnout. This is Doug. And so it was me and Doug, and I think in the morning, Bill WLM showed up for a while. And then in the middle of the day, probably a little bit after this photo was taken, Paul, PDY, showed up for a while. And it was pretty successful. I've got a 18-foot fiberglass tripod mast that you see in dead center. And it's very similar to the pole on the top of it, but it's a system from Ventana, where you've got these little pole segments. Each one's about 18 inches long, and you've got 3 or 4 different types of poles, and you put them together in different ways for different bands. And then at the end, you have a little telescoping antenna that you adjust for the band and for fine tuning. And I think I don't know what band this is. It's probably 20 meters. And actually at Doug's head level, just to the right of the mast, you might see a red blob. That's the generator that's down slope quite a ways. That was running the station. And it's funny you saying how high the water level is, because I look at this and I think how low the water level is, but I guess I haven't been up to the lake recently to see what it is now. I gather it's lower than low, especially compared to this low. And I don't remember how many contacts we had. I thought we did pretty good. I suspect that it was a good location, and the RF was kind of like bouncing off the lake, because we almost like we had a pipeline back east. I was getting a lot of back east coast stations. I had a Flex Radio 3000 at this time, and had problem actually seeing the screen on the monitor I brought. That's lots of sun. I should have brought a pop-up, but I don't think I had a pop-up at that time. It seemed like a lot of equipment. I mean, probably not really, especially compared to what a field day involves these days. But good day, good trip, beautiful sunset. Everyone enjoyed it. And I'm very glad that Doug was able to get to a very successful field day this year, because I think he really enjoyed it. But that's nice to know. Back to net, AI6DG.
Wonderful tribute to our silent key friend, N6NA FM, Doug. Just wonderful photo. So thanks for sharing a good memory for that, Joel. AI6DG, that was a great photo. Any other comments or questions for Joel on this one?
No comments. Just say thanks, Joe, for sharing the picture of Taylor.
All right, Neil. Thanks for that, and double thanks to Joel for bringing that one. Carol, KB4MD, would you like to transmit a photo?
Okay, this will be PD 120.
Harold KP4MD. I was able to copy the photo. Looks pretty good. I do have to do a slant correction for some reason. I think I need to calibrate, but I don't. Is this a Arecibo? I can't remember how to pronounce that. Is this a historic Arecibo photo or something? Maybe something else. Let me see if I can lean on others that might know about this one. Neil, KL7HQR, did you want to give it a...
The KL7HQR. Well, that was my first impulse. There's another picture of Arecibo. It doesn't look like what I remember it looking. If it is Arecibo, it's a completely different perspective, a different angle. From what I remember, it looks familiar, but the very top, my memory may be failing me. On the other hand, the scenery, the vegetation, etc., looks like it could be Puerto Rico. I would like to just, I don't know, it looks like an older picture. I was wondering if there is a new radio telescope somewhere else, but the picture seems to be older. So, anyway, my guess would be Arecibo from an angle that I have not seen, so I tend to be corrected. Back to that, KL7HQR.
Right, well, it certainly has features like that. So, how about Anders, K3REH? Copy?
Certainly have a good copy, and I would agree that that's probably what it is. I've never been there, but I have seen uncountable pictures and movies and YouTube snippets about it. Very interesting site and very interesting instrumentation for sure. So sad that it was destroyed, but yeah, that is my guess also. K3REH, back to net.
All right, I guess we're getting warmer. Will Joel take off the blindfold for us? AS6DG, were you able to copy?
Yeah, so I get some pretty bad bars from my local noise source. It's almost like a machine gun going off. Pop, 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 pop. I got a bunch of those at the top half with some lines across. Look at the YouTube, and it's near perfect reception over there. Well, wait a minute. That makes sense. She sent it. But that's definitely Arecibo. I can't really see the I know there's literally buildings and rooms up there. I think it's... I'm not sure I've ever seen anything that really gives you a sense of the scale, how large what was up there was. I mean, not let alone the weight. As I remember, 900 tons. My God. It's absolutely amazing, the video that they had when the final cable went. I mean, they had a drone up there at the time it happened, and you could literally see the stuff falling and the pillars breaking back. That's one thing that amazed me, is the cables didn't just break and the stuff go down into the dish. There's the stress from those no longer being there and being released actually pulled all of the pillars back and away from the dish, because the cable that went from the pillar down to the ground around was so pre-stressed that they literally just pulled the pillars straight back and broke the top off. So there's not much. You can't just put it back together. You got to basically start from scratch, I think. Such a shame. Even with the rust you can see drooping down the surface of that big round thing in the middle. It was doing so much work and had so much still in its future, if it had the funding, which I guess it wasn't getting that either. Anyway, look forward to the Webb, or is it Webb or Weber telescope? I mean, there's some amazing discoveries yet to be made. Back to net, AS6TG.
Very good, Joel. Thank you for that. Yeah, you gotta imagine if this was that important, there must be some, and I haven't followed radio telescope discuss it if they know. But Carol, KP4MD, thanks for sending the photo. We're all very curious what you would have to say.
Yeah, okay, this is KP4MD. This is, you're right, this is the Arecibo Observatory. And I took this picture in 2018. It was 3 years ago, which was the last time I was down there. And Roger and I went, and we met with Angel Vasquez. That's who's you see on the right side in the picture, WP3R. He's the head of telescope operations. And we were looking at the aftermath of Hurricane Maria. The focal point device that you see up, suspended above the dish, is they call that the platform. And if you look closely, the dome-like the object that looks like a half dome that's facing downward, that's called a Gregorian feed. And over to the left of that, there's a little short spiky thing pointing down. That's the line feed. That's the 430 megahertz line feed. And that actually had broken. A long piece of that had snapped off, and there was just a little stub left there. They were talking about repairing that at some point in the future. But yeah, if you look down behind the railing, you can see part of the reflector dish. The actual reflector dish itself is the bright white part that you see. The kind of screening that you see beyond the edge of the white rim is actually just a screen to shield the sensors from the heat of the vegetation off the side there. So that helps to improve the signal to noise ratio. So yeah, this is a historic picture that I took, and I thought it would be interesting to see this. Of course, most of the reflector has already been disassembled, and I saw something on the internet that there was some talk about maybe building a radio telescope on the far side of the moon, and I don't know if anybody else has seen that as some kind of a project for the next generation of scientific dreamers. I'm just a little bit concerned about building something like that on the moon, because it would be great. I mean, there won't be any radio interference if you put it on the far side of the moon, so it'll be shielded from all the radio RF pollution coming from the Earth. But I think it would be exposed to all kinds of space debris and meteors that are constantly hitting the moon, and I wonder what kind of effect that would have on a device like that that's exposed without any protective atmosphere. So back to net control. This is KP4MD.
Well, thank you for that that update on the moon thing. And I had this idea that maybe they could have a satellite-based radio telescope. I know that's a stretch, but just you can put almost anything, any size in space, and it's easier to build. You don't have the, I suppose you don't have the same structural constraints, but you have other problems being in space. Yeah, so thanks for that. Very interesting. And anyway, so any other comments or questions on the Arecibo historical photo? And I guess Carl is just reminiscing on some good times and something very dear. So nice stuff. Any other comments?
Carol, obviously this is a personally taken picture. Thanks for sharing. I had a chance to visit there quite a few years ago, more than 10 years ago, and it still hurts to remember what happened to that, and mainly the reason why it happened, just complete disregard for any maintenance processes and anything. But anyway, and there we go. Thank you for keeping the picture, and thank you for sharing, KO7 Ishkar.
All right. Yeah, so any other points or comments, questions about what we're doing? Or we're going to wrap up the net here in just a couple minutes, but I'll take a quick pause, see if there's any, again, we're getting ready to close this out. We want to express appreciation to Alf, KN6PRD, for being a viewer, and WP2N, if you get a chance to watch this recording, we're thinking about you. All right, cast. Well, I want to say thanks to all of you who participated in tonight's SSTV Net. We hope to see you again next Wednesday at 9 p.m. The net is officially closed at 10:04 p.m. Pacific Time. This is Wilson, November 6th Echo Mike Foxtrot, wishing all of you a good evening. 73.